The corpse of the Funhouse. It was a horrifying discovery in the 1970s that the Carnival Funhouse had presented a real human corpse as an eerie prop. The mannequin was allegedly hung as a decoration for years, and thousands of individuals passed by, taking photos and even handling it without realizing they were interacting with actual human remains. The device was frequently repainted and repositioned by the carnival workers, who regarded it as merely another eerie decoration. It was also known that children were taken aback by the realism of the object, as they were oblivious that they were viewing a genuine corpse. The case of Elmer McCurdy, an unsuccessful train robber who was slain in a 1911 shootout with police in Oklahoma, is the basis for this legend. After his death, no one claimed his body. Consequently, a funerary director embalmed it with arsenic and exhibited it for paying customers. The cadaver was subsequently sold to a variety of haunted houses and traveling carnivals. In December 1976, while filming The $6 Million Man, a crew member moved the mannequin, causing its arm to break off, exposing human bone. McCurdy's mummified remains ultimately ended up at the New Pike Amusement Park in Long Beach, California. The authenticity of the human corpse was verified by medical examiners. Throughout the years, the body had been decorated with a variety of objects and painted with phosphorus paint on multiple occasions, as discoveries indicated. Before being discovered, McCurdy's cadaver had been transported across the United States as a funfair attraction for 65 years. In 1977, he was ultimately laid to rest in Summit View Cemetery in Oklahoma. The Bunnyman Bridge, also known as the Colchester Overpass, is located in Fairfax County, Virginia. As per the legend, in 1904, a bus carrying patients from an asylum overturned, resulting in the recapture of all but one patient. Dead rabbits began to appear in the vicinity shortly thereafter, with a significant number of them being hung from the Fairfax Station Bridge. The initial documented encounter with the Bunnyman took place on October 19, 1970, when U.S. Air Force Academy cadet Bob Bennett and his fiancée were parked in their vehicle near the bridge. Bob stated that they were in their vehicle when they noticed an object in the darkness that was moving. Suddenly, a figure with long rabbit ears and a white rabbit attire emerged. The man approached their vehicle and screamed at them for trespassing before throwing an axe that shattered the passenger side window. Nevertheless, Bennett's fiancée disagreed with his account, asserting that he was not wearing a bunny suit and that it appeared more like long, pointed headwear. A comparable incident was described by construction security guard Paul Phillips just 10 days later, on October 29, 1970. He observed a man in a rabbit suit standing on the porch of an unfinished residence in Kings Park West. The individual was yelling about trespassers while holding an axe and chopping at the porch of the home. Upon observing Phillips, the man declared that he was infringing upon his property and threatened to cut off his head if he approached any further. In the aftermath, Paul escaped the location. Local law enforcement conducted a comprehensive investigation into both cases after approximately 50 individuals reported seeing the Bunnyman in the aftermath of these events. The reports are still maintained in the records of Fairfax County. However, they did not result in any action. Although the original Bunnyman was not apprehended, his influence endures, and the Colchester Overpass has remained unaltered since that time. The Green Man, also known as Charlie No-Face in the local community, was a man named Raymond Robinson who traversed the deserted roadways of Beaver County, Pennsylvania overnight. The Green Man's face was deformed as a result of a tragic accident in 1919, when Raymond Robinson, who was 8 years old at the time, sustained a severe injury while attempting to inspect a bird's nest on the Morado Bridge near Beaver Falls. A power line carrying 22,000 volts of electricity was touched by Robinson while he was ascending the bridge. The tragedy was reported in local newspapers, which stated that young Raymond had been severely disfigured and had lost his right arm, nose, and eyes. Robinson's habit of taking lengthy evening strolls along State Route 351 between Coppell and New Galilee was the catalyst that elevated him from a devastating accident victim to a living legend. Robinson spent his days at his family's residence crafting leather wallets and belts, as he was unable to work traditional employment as a result of his injuries. He would take solitary treks along the rural road at night when there were no other individuals present, as he did not wish to frighten anyone. As a result of his decision, the residents of Beaver County who traveled along Route 351 at night encountered a more threatening situation. They would frequently observe Robinson walking along the road, and his injured face would occasionally appear to glow green in their headlights, earning him the moniker Green Man. The transformation of Robinson's narrative from documented fact to regional folklore is what renders it so captivating. Although numerous individuals were apprehensive when they encountered him at night, those who engaged in conversation with him discovered him to be intelligent and amicable. He would frequently pause to engage in conversation with inquisitive adolescents who approached him, and certain locals would offer him cigarettes or beer. These interactions have been corroborated by numerous independent accounts and newspaper interviews. Robinson maintained his nocturnal strolls until his passing in 1985. A dead body under the mattress. Throughout history, there have been urban legends about deceased individuals being buried beneath mattresses. The dreadful nature of this particular urban legend is not the only thing that makes it so terrifying. It has been proved true on numerous occasions in various locations and decades, and the reality has matched the legend with extreme precision. The Ocean View Motel in Atlantic City, New Jersey, was the site of the most notorious verified case in 1999. A ubiquitous, sickening odor in room 112 had been the subject of guest complaints for days. The odor was disregarded as a variety of possibilities, including a clogged drainage system or a deceased rat. Each of the numerous visitors who entered and exited the room expressed their dissatisfaction with the odor, unaware that they were sleeping on top of a deceased individual. After conducting a thorough investigation, housekeeping discovered the decomposing corpse of Saul Hernandez, which had been meticulously concealed within the box spring of the bed. The verification of this urban legend resulted in alteration of hotel protocols throughout the nation. Many establishments now mandate more comprehensive room inspections, which include a thorough examination of the inside of box springs and the underside of mattresses. In order to prevent their use as hiding locations, certain hotels have even transitioned to platform beds or sealed mattress units. People within the walls. The concept of an individual secretly monitoring the interior of a building has been a recurring theme in numerous urban legends. It has been discovered that this particular horror tale concept is rooted in documented reality, which only serves to heighten its unsettling nature. A man named Daniel LaPlante was discovered to have been covertly living within the walls of a family's home for an extended period in 1986 in Pepperell, Massachusetts, a case that resembles the urban legends. LaPlante, a convicted criminal, had entered the house through a small crawl space and began residing there for a period. He would emerge when the family was away to consume their food, relocate their possessions, and even observe them through openings he had drilled. A comparable incident transpired in Japan in 2008. A woman who had been destitute for more than a year was discovered residing in a man's wardrobe. She had entered the wardrobe through a small opening and remained concealed, only emerging when the householder was absent. Loyan. In 2013, the Swiss media, with Le Matin newspaper being notably prominent, extensively reported on the urban legend of Loyan. In contrast to numerous folklore figures, this enigmatic individual was captured on camera on multiple occasions, with verifiable sightings by local residents that spanned a decade in the Walls region of Switzerland. Around 2003, residents began reporting encounters with a tall figure in the forests, which led to the first documented mention of Loyan. The consistency of these sightings set them apart from conventional urban legends. The individual consistently donned the same attire, consisting of a thick camouflage parka and a vintage military gas mask. The documentation of Loyan's presence was significantly advanced by the acquisition of a photograph of him by a local photographer. This photograph, which was published in Swiss publications, accurately depicted the individual described by witnesses, a single individual in a military uniform traversing the forest paths. The photographs served as evidence that this was not merely local gossip, but rather a genuine individual. In September 2013, the most tangible evidence was the deliberate abandonment of Loyan's entire costume in the woodlands. The note that was discovered, which was partially published by Swiss media, referenced the recent surge in their visibility. This is one of the rare masked figure stories that is supported by physical evidence and official documentation, as local police have confirmed the discovery of the artifacts and note. Cropsey. In the 1970s and 1980s, the Cropsey legend was a story of a deranged individual who would wander the grounds of Willowbrook Mental Institution on Staten Island after dusk. The disappearances of numerous minors in the region were attributed to Cropsey. Cropsey is frequently depicted as an escaped mental patient in numerous legends. He was frequently depicted as either holding a bloodied axe or having a hook for a hand. In actuality, Cropsey was identified as Andre Rand, a former Willowbrook orderly who would go on to become one of Staten Island's most notorious criminals. Rand was employed at the institution during its most notorious period, a period in which patients were subjected to severe neglect and cruelty. He continued to haunt the periphery of the community after the institution's closure, becoming a real-life embodiment of the Cropsey legend. Rand was found guilty of the abduction of numerous young females and was suspected of being involved in a number of disappearances. His actual offenses were nearly identical to the urban legend, as they targeted vulnerable young women who were operating within institutional grounds. In 1987, Rand was responsible for the first confirmed abduction of Jennifer Schweiger. She was precisely the type of vulnerable victim that the Cropsey legend had described, a 12-year-old girl with Down syndrome. Rand was sentenced to 25 years in prison in 1988, and he had a total of 5 notable alleged victims. Toxic woman. In the 1990s, an enigmatic woman arrived at a California hospital, and when medical personnel drew her blood, toxic fumes caused hospital employees to collapse, according to the Toxic Lady legend. The tale became increasingly dramatic as it spread. According to certain accounts, her body was capable of melting through floors and causing equipment malfunctions. In the legend, biohazard teams are depicted as quarantining hospital wings and staff members contracting illnesses as a result of their proximity to the woman. Stories recount the oily sheen of her skin, the highly acidic nature of her blood, and the peculiar odors that caused her to become incapacitated. The narrative typically concludes with her death and her corpse being sealed in a special containment. The reality of this legend is rooted in the 1994 case of Gloria Ramirez. She was diagnosed with advanced cervical cancer and cardiac issues upon her arrival at Riverside General Hospital. Medical personnel observed an oily sheen on her skin. Subsequently, hospital personnel encountered nausea, respiratory difficulties, and muscle contractions subsequent to the collection of her blood, which bore an ammonia-like odor. 23 individuals contracted illnesses, 5 necessitating hospitalization, and 1 employee necessitating intubation. A hazmat team was responsible for the evacuation and decontamination of the emergency room. Ramirez succumbed to kidney failure shortly after his arrival. This was attributed to Ramirez's use of DMSO, or dimethyl sulfoxide, for pain alleviation, according to scientists. This toxic compound, which caused the staff's symptoms, may have been converted to DMSO2 by her organ failure and subsequently to DMSO4. Despite the absence of supernatural elements such as dissolving floors, the actual events were sufficiently peculiar to serve as the basis for numerous urban legends. If you would like to engage in a conversation about this video or propose an idea for the next one, please visit my Discord channel, which is linked in the description.